Hi everybody! Thanks for coming out. Was it 2 weeks ago to John's game? Mr. Wood's game, and it was really nice to meet all of you guys. And just wanted to give a quick shout out to Angie, Felicia, Bobby, Stacy, Samantha, Jenny, Jacqueline, Amber. Amber, Emily, Moses, Connie, Angie, John, Tiffany, Alec, Jessica, Polly, Joanne, Sarah, Gabrielle, Albert, Brian, Emmeline, Caitlin, Celine, Emmeline, Caitlin, Celine, Vanessa, Melissa, Samantha, Angela, Ariana. Yay! It was really nice to meet you guys and hope to see you guys more, and study hard and don't give Mr. Wood too much pressure or stress, and study hard because the wedding's coming up and he needs to relax. So do well on your AP test. Yeah.
Yay. All right. The age of realpolitik. So we're not going to spend a whole lot of time through this because you guys studied very hard for this past test, and we shouldn't need to cover every single little detail because the major themes is what's most important. So a few things to know of why realpolitik is the new way of political change throughout the rest of the 1800s is because, first, the failure of the revolutions of 1848. You have a lot of liberalists and romantics that were coming out and trying to lead these revolutions, and because they failed, it just showed that just because you have strong values and ideas, that's not enough to accomplish the task of bringing a full-on revolution. And so we're going to see that the age of realism is going to replace romanticism, and this is going to be the new ideology and philosophy after 1850. As this is the age of realpolitik, this means that one person or a group is going to accomplish their political goals specifically through practical means. And so your political decisions are based upon the realistic capabilities. So many of the nationalists that we're going to see that are choosing to unify, the desire to see their state come together, they are going to achieve it through step-by-step Machiavellian approach. And we're going to see this in Germany and Italy, and also with the Austrian-Hungarian Empire. And also through Louis Napoleon, who will become Napoleon III, he will also work with liberals in order to maintain control and to gain popular support. Okay. All right, so the major events we're going to be looking at are these 5 events: the Crimean War, France as the Second Empire it's going to establish, Italy and Germany uniting, and the Austro-Hungarian Empire. Okay, so first, the Crimean War. First we need to say that before this war begins, the concept of Europe is going to fail, and the reason why is because the great powers just did not cooperate during the revolutions of 1848, and their credibility was undermined, and they didn't really work together. So between 1848 and 1878, peace is going to be interrupted throughout Europe because of 2 specific wars, one being the Crimean War. The other one is going to be the Russo-Turkish War of 1877 to 1878. And the Crimean War is significant because it's going to help lead success of national movements. And even though it doesn't seem quite connected with Germany and Italy, nationalism is going to be more widely accepted coming out of this time, and the outcome of these countries, of the great powers, are going to be affected by them too. Okay, so the main causes, the first major cause is the dispute of what's going on in the Holy Land. So the Holy Land is Jerusalem, Israel, or Palestine back then, Israel today. And so you have 2 groups of Christians that are looking for privileges in the Holy Land. In 1852, it's the Ottoman Turks that are in control of Palestine, and they made an agreement with Napoleon III, and Napoleon III desired to have these specific territories that would be for Roman Catholics living in Jerusalem, in Palestine. And this actually countered with some existing agreements with the Greek Orthodox Christians that lived in Palestine. And we know that Russia favors the Orthodox Christians. And so this is where it's kind of a contention between should the Catholics or the Orthodox Christians be holding these territories. So Tsar Nicholas I is going to put some pressure on the Ottoman Turks and occupy some Turkish-controlled provinces that is next to the Danube River. Russia said that if the Orthodox Christians can get to these provinces, these territories, then they'll withdraw their troops. Okay, so eventually the Turks don't want to have that, and I'm sorry I skipped this, but yeah, Napoleon III Catholics, Nicholas I Orthodox Christians. So by 1853, we're going to see that the Turks are going to declare war, and Nicholas is not going to back down, and so they're going to go to war. Eventually, as the war begins in Crimea, we're going to see that the Turks are actually not that strong, and they're going to be a decreasing power because they become weak over time. Okay, and then quickly after, Britain and France are going to declare war on Russia, and they're going to support the Ottoman Turks. And this is kind of weird because they're also of the Christian faith, but they're supporting the Muslims. And the main point was that they are supporting the Turks because they don't want Russia to upset the balance of power by expanding westward. And so this is a way where the other Western powers, the great powers, can check Russia. And the Eastern question that we talked about before is what will happen to the balance of power if the Ottoman Empire would lose. So if, let's just say Russia did win and defeat the Ottoman Empire, okay, then the Eastern question would be then everyone's going to scramble for territories. Russia would have an advantage because they got there first. And so France and Great Britain did not want them to be encroaching in that territory and expanding westward. Yes, and one other reason why Louis Napoleon would support this is because if he had a successful war against Russia, he feels that it would solidify more support for the French Empire that he's trying to establish. Okay, all right, so some of the provisions that were talked about in the middle of the war was this proposal of 4 points, and the 4 points basically said that if Russia can renounce some of the things, then they would no longer attack. Okay, so Russia was called to renounce the claims to the territories and the principalities on the Danube River. So if you can see down in the map, okay, Moldavia and Wallachia, and also where the river ends and connects to the Black Sea, they want to make the Black Sea, that territory, internationalized, which means that it's not controlled by any military ships. And also Russia would renounce its special role of protecting the Greek Orthodox Christians that's in the Palestinian territory. In 1855, we're going to see Sardinia and Piedmont join on the British-French side. They're not playing a huge significant role, but they just wanted to be a part of it, and eventually can influence more support in Italy for unification. And Austria actually is quite neutral, but they agreed to the 4 points because it gave Russia an ultimatum and saying either you comply with the 4 points or Austria is going to join the war. So they too are looking to check the power of Russia. Austria is checking Russia. They didn't want the Balkan area to be influenced by Russia. They wanted to maintain it themselves. Eventually, Nicholas I is going to die in 1855. And what's going to happen is that Alexander II is going to be the next heir, the new Tsar, and he's going to accept the 4 points, and the war will finally end, whereas Tsar Nicholas wanted to fight it through. Okay, so Alexander II is the one who actually concedes. All right, so in fighting the war, okay, it's going to take place on the Crimean Peninsula, right under Ukraine, south of Ukraine, in that Black Sea territory. And over 50,000 British and French troops fought in these areas, and they are looking for this port city, Sebastopol. we talked about and saw Florence Nightingale, right, as one of the nurses, saw the videos, and the main point of this, why is this really happening, is because different things. Media is growing. In Europe, you have newspapers, you have the Telegraph developing, and so the news of Florence Nightingale began to spread as the British nurse, and she would establish the Light Brigade, which were basically those that are working with her to tend to the wounded men, and they would witness a lot of fatalities and a lot of casualties because of disease. Okay, they could not heal the disease quick enough or find any remedies for it. Not as much from just combat wounds, although you did see the bloody, humorous clip. Another reason why casualties were so high is because of the new military technologies. This is one of the first examples of a European modern war. The two types of technologies that are new are the percussion cap and the breech loading rifle. And so in these coming wars, we're going to see that they're actually going to be utilized even more. And why are these things important? Well, because they're part of how a gun works, a rifle works, and they can fire more rapidly, which means more rounds per minute, and also it's also more accurate too, which means it's more deadly. Okay, against specifically the cavalry, which would usually have an advantage, now it has a disadvantage. Okay, all right. So finally, peace settlements. The Treaty of Paris in 1856 comes in. Russia is going to be the big loser in this, and this is going to be known as the first major conflict amongst the great powers since the Congress of Vienna in 1815. And from this, we're going to see a shift now away from the alliances and the bond of the countries in the Congress of Vienna and the Concert of Europe. We talked about the Concert of Europe is going to fail. They don't really work together. And by this time, the emphasis is more upon each individual nation is going to focus on its own military power and its own diplomatic influence. Okay. What does Russia lose? They no longer have control of trade along the Danube River. The Turkish are going to control that area now. It's handed over to them. So Moldavia and Wallachia is what we know as modern-day Romania, but this territory by the Black Sea is going to be controlled by the Turks. Russia will also no longer be the sole protector of the Greek Orthodox Christians in Palestine. Okay, so they're not going to defend them anymore. They're not the protecting role. Russia also will agree that it will return all of the territories that it won for the Ottoman Empire back to them. The Black Sea is neutral now, and so you have no warships and no fighting going on. And the Ottoman Empire eventually from this is going to be recognized and not taken over by Russia. Okay, so Russia's reaction, in the end, we know that Russia was very shocked that this all happened. They had fallen so far behind, they pretty much got smashed because they were not industrialized. We talked about Western Europe being able to industrialize first, and then Russia's way behind. And so at this point, Russia says, well, we have to do something about it. And so we're going to begin reforming our country. Alexander II is going to start changing the country in terms of modernizing it, industrializing it in order to catch up with the rest of the world. All right, so we're moving forward, and it was a very short lecture. See you guys.